following.
Welcome to The Situation, joining you live tonight from an overpass on the outskirts of New Orleans. It spans I-10, of course the major artery that goes along the Gulf Coast, spanning towns that were crushed by Hurricane Katrina earlier this week. You can see behind me there's a holding place where thousands of refugees from New Orleans, from the city, from the parts that have been submerged underwater, have been taken, many by helicopter. Some of them have been waiting here for days. There have been helicopters landing behind me all day long, landing, taking off. As they do, as the rotors come down, trash blows up from the field. It's littered with trash. You can see that there are people with small children. All these people behind me, the thousands who have been here, for all of them, there's a total of 4 porta-johns, 4 restrooms. For the rest, using the open field as a latrine. It's a chaotic scene here. I talked to one man who was with a small child, a daughter about 2 years old, asked him, "Where are you going?" A bus had just pulled up, a school bus from Lafayette Parish. He said, "I have no idea." None of the people getting on the bus seem to have any idea where they're going, except they were leaving here, which is what they wanted to be doing. About 20 minutes ago, a man who was standing down here on the field ran up onto the overpass where we are. There are no lights, of course, because the electricity's out all around, and ran right down I-10 here, sadly, tragically, directly into a police car and was killed. Sort of a small but telling metaphor for really the complete chaos a lot of these people have been living in for the past 4 days since it struck. We got here earlier today with the help of a policeman, a New Orleans policeman named Jared Henry, who we ran into in Baton Rouge. New Orleans is completely blocked off to just about everyone except emergency workers. He was filling up gasoline, about 35 jerry cans at a gas station in Baton Rouge. He agreed to give us a police escort into the city, so we did. We, almost immediately upon getting here, we came with someone who we knew who lives here uptown, and one of the first things we did was go to the Civic Center, rather the Convention Center here in New Orleans, which has been the site of a lot of suffering. Refugees have been there without air conditioning, without power for days. We went there. First thing we saw as we walked in, a police car right in front of it, all 4 tires slashed, people sitting on it. You can see the pictures there. These are people who've been living there for a long time, almost a tent city, people cooking food outside. There's the police car, totally inoperable. Today, the big development was, and I think many people who have been living at the Convention Center were grateful for it, the National Guard showed up. We saw 6 of them buzz by driving forklifts, the kind they use to pick pallets up in warehouses. They sped by with their M16s in full body armor, camouflage, etc. They were a welcome sight. Crime has been a terrible problem at the Convention Center, as it has been throughout New Orleans. Most of the people, I think, who've stayed here, who've ridden out the aftermath of the hurricane, have been terrorized by bands of roaming thugs, some of whom have committed murder. If you've been watching television, you certainly know that. From there, we went to meet a woman, a 75-year-old woman named Gloria Buchanan, who rode out the hurricane alone with her 2 dogs in an apartment. MSNBC got a call a couple of days ago from Gloria Buchanan saying that she was alone. No one had come to help her. She was running out of water and she had no food. So we figured we'd call her. So we did. The second we got here, we called her, went over to her house. There she is. She'd ridden out completely alone, hadn't talked to anybody. So we didn't have a lot, but we brought her some instant soup and a couple bottles of water. Wandered through her house. She said she was terrorized during the hurricane, seemed a little bit disoriented. On the living room wall of her house, she had posted up, for rescue workers, presumably, a sign written in marker that said, "If found dead, call Tulane Medical Center for details on what to do next." This is a woman who I think it's clearly at times, expected to die. She didn't. On the way out, amazingly enough, we ran into one of the many completely volunteer rescue workers who showed up in New Orleans. A man from Texas who just got in the car, rented a van, got water and food, and went door to door throughout the city. Has been doing it all week as a kind of Christian mission, helping people who needed aid. They haven't gotten it any other way. We talked to him for a minute. Here's what he said.
We've been feeding people, we've been pulling people in boats, we've been hauling people out down here in the 10 foot of water, we've been hauling them in 18 inches, we've been everything else. We had the privilege this morning of having a lady whose husband passed away, in the house, and she says, "Can you help me?" And so we had to wrap him up and bag him up and take him outside for her, and sit and had a service for him out on the front porch.
At his service on the front porch. There was no one else to conduct that service, obviously, so he did. Thank God he did. The big news here, of course, as you know, President Bush traveled here today, went to the airport in Jefferson Parish, right down this road right here, and gave a short statement. Here's part of what he said.
We've got a job to defend this country in the war on terror, and we've got a job to bring aid and comfort to the people of the Gulf Coast, and we'll do both. We got plenty of resources to do both. Somebody questioned me the other day about, do we have enough National Guard troops? Of course we do.
That quote, I should correct, does not come from the airport here, Louis Armstrong International Airport in New Orleans, but from Biloxi. But the message was pretty consistent from President Bush all day long. The implication was the government has not acted quickly enough. He's certainly right about that, but that it will act swiftly and effectively now, and that we have the resources to help the people here in New Orleans. Well, a lot of the people being evacuated from New Orleans are going by bus, and they're going right up I-10 to Houston, Texas. And that is where our next guest comes from. She's the Congresswoman from Houston, Sheila Jackson Lee, a Democrat. Congresswoman, thanks a lot for joining us tonight.
Tucker, thank you for having me in this very difficult times. Of course, my sympathy goes out to all of those families and all of those who've lost loved ones.
And I was in Houston a couple of days ago and spoke to a couple people who, for selfish or other reasons, but I think they were legitimate anyway, were concerned about the effect on Houston of having a lot of people from New Orleans with, essentially shattered lives bust in. What kind of effect is this going to have on your community?
Well, Tucker, first of all, if Houston has anything, it has a big heart, big opportunities, and big ideas. I spent the afternoon meeting with officials, from city officials to county officials. Just came back from the Astrodome, visiting with the Red Cross, visiting with survivors, as we now call them. And frankly, we are rising to the occasion. It is difficult. There is quite a bit of, if you will, busyness, hurriedness, and maybe somewhat confusion, but people are being placed, cots are there, if you will, resources are there, but we need help from the federal government ourselves. And what do we need most of all? Coordination and preparation. We know what happened in the lacking of preparation for New Orleans and the tragedy that occurred there in Mississippi and of course, Alabama. We need coordination now in terms of knowing the numbers of people that are coming in. We're prepared to house them. Tomorrow we will establish the Healing Hands Faith Community opportunity, where we're bringing in the faith community and other providers to take care of those people that are not in the designated governmental sites. So we are prepared, but we need coordination, we need resources, we need FEMA to be on the ground. We need those kinds of resources to do the right job, but Houston has a big heart, and I'm proud of them.
Well, good for you, Congresswoman. There was a quote today from Elijah Cummings, who's, of course, a congressman and head of the Congressional Black Caucus, that I found disturbing, and I wanted to run it by you. Doubtless you're familiar with it. Here's what he said. "We cannot allow it to be said that the difference between those who lived and those who died in this great storm and flood of 2005 was nothing more than poverty, age, and skin color." I don't see any evidence, Congresswoman, that the response has broken down along racial lines, that racism has played any role in the pretty selfless response of emergency workers here. Why, I wonder, would the head of the Congressional Black Caucus want to inject race into a story like this?
Tucker, first of all, let me say that, of course, Congressman Cummings served as chair of the Congressional Black Caucus. The chair now is Congressman Mel Watt, but I also want to note that the Congressional Black Caucus Foundation, working with the NAACP and many others, are going to be raising their own dollars to work in what we call the impact communities and, of course, Louisiana, to help in communities that are experiencing this devastation. Let me suggest to you, as a member of the Homeland Security Committee, what might have been the thrust of these remarks. We were not prepared, frankly, unfortunately, resources or either strategy, the levees that broke that cast 25 billion gallons of water down upon these individuals, the charity hospital that still has not been evacuated. But what happened is the world saw pictures of individuals from a particular community. They saw their desperation, they looked like they were alone, they looked like they were unattended. You can't help but make those kinds of assumptions. I imagine the same kind of thing could have happened in...
Hold on. Wait, Congresswoman.
It could have happened in Boston. I beg your pardon,
but you absolutely can help but make those kind of assumptions. You can help but make the assumption that racism played a role in any of this. We can all agree that incompetence played a huge role, and that it's a travesty, and the people are suffering because government didn't do its job.
You're not listening,
I don't think anybody
Tucker.
needs to jump to the
You're not listening.
But,
What I said was,
okay.
It could have happened in Boston. It could have happened in Charlotte, North Carolina. But when you have the world looking and you see a particular community, those questions come up. You realize that race has always been an issue in this particular nation. However, I will say this. My projection is that we were not prepared, and that what is happening now, the outpouring of concern and effort by the private sector, by nonprofits, by many other entities such as the faith community, is something we can be proud of. I'm proud of what's going on here in Houston. It is diverse.
Yes.
It is across religious lines, and I want to promote that and celebrate that through the announcement
Amen.
that we're going to have the Healing Hands organization working along with everyone trying to make things better.
And good for you, Congressman. If I could just say one thing, in many of the interviews we've done today, the racial question has come up again and again. There's a great deal of paranoia here centering on that question. Was this one community neglected intentionally? And I guess I would just hope and pray that members of Congress wouldn't stoke that paranoia and that fear with comments like that from Mr. Cummings today. I hope they wouldn't, because it makes people even more fearful than they already are. It hurts people. I don't think it's good for this country. Anyway, thanks a lot, Congressman.
We promise you that we're going to work for the betterment and the good of everybody. We want their lives to be restored. We're going to be working, Tucker, and thanks for being in Houston.
Thanks a lot. Thanks, Congresswoman.
Thank you.
Well, next, aid is arriving here in New Orleans with a mixture of celebration and some disgust, frankly. Up ahead, is it enough? Did it come soon enough?
Okay, Mr. Jones, I'll just add up the closing costs on your new home loan, and you'll be all done.
If you're thinking about purchasing a new home, or you're already in the process of applying for a new mortgage, don't get stuck paying a lot of fees. Just log on or call Ditech.com and get a flat fee home loan. The total lender fee is just $395.
Okay, Mr. Jones. Mr. Jones. Lost another one to Ditech.
Ditech.com. Log on or call 1-800-DITECH-1.
Top critics are calling The Constant Gardener sizzling,
There's an epidemic coming.
hair-raising,
Pharmaceuticals right up there with the arms dealers.
exhilarating, edge-of-your-seat thriller.
Get down!
The Constant Gardener, rated R, now playing.
Almost 5 days after Hurricane Katrina crushes New Orleans, aid finally arrives from the federal government. We'll tell you what difference it's made and what difference it hasn't made. Be right back.
New Promise Buttery Spread helps maintain a healthy heart when eaten instead of butter or margarine. And now it's rich with heart health essentials like omega-3 and vitamins B6 and 12. Plus, there's no trans fat and lots of creamy, buttery taste. In fact, it's our healthiest and tastiest buttery spread yet. No wonder hearts are beating louder. New Promise Buttery Spread, taking your health to heart.